Hey, this is Antonio Perez, your local mortgage broker. And today, having a social just conversation here with Liliana Fuentes from Keller Williams. Hey, Liliana, how's
Hi.
it going?
Good. How are you?
So far, so good.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining me today on this social chat about real estate. The
Thank you so much
good,
for inviting me.
the bad, and the indifferent
Yeah.
of real estate, of how we got into this mortgage industry and real estate industry. So, Liliana, tell me a little bit about your background. What got you into this industry?
Actually, what got me into the industry was buying my first house. It was something that I have been working towards for a few years. So pretty much I clicked on this little house that I liked. I got connected with a great realtor who became my friend and my mentor. She actually recruited me. I was working for U-Haul at the time. And so she's, hey, I think you're great at making calls. So why don't my team is looking for an ISA and why don't you interview? I think you'll be good at the job. And I joined that team a few months later, actually, from when we started working. And it was just, it was just destined to be.
Oh, that's amazing. So you've seen both sides of the transaction. You were a buyer at the time, and then you fell in love with the process, and you became a LSA. What does that stand for?
So ISA, so it's internal sales associate. So what I was doing was anybody that clicked on Zillow, House, or Realtor.com, one of these popular search websites, we would get the information. They would fill up their information. I would get that information. I would call them to then set them up with a realtor who can meet with them and then help them buy the house.
Got it.
So I was initially pretty much first point of contact.
Got it. Yeah. In our side, though, we're more. I started like that as well as a marketer back then.
Yeah.
I don't think they cold call anymore, but yeah, that's amazing. That's a great start to the industry. And what inspired you to take the next step from
Honestly, it came from the fact that I thought I could never own a home here in the US. So, as I mentioned to you before, I'm actually a DACA recipient. And so I got my work permit and I started working right away because I knew that if I did that, I could own a home someday. Because at that point, I had obviously a lawful status here in the US and I was able to work and build my credit. And I just figured I'm just throwing money away in rent. And so I started working right away on it. I think that was one of the, I think that was probably one of the best decisions in my life.
now? Yeah, most definitely. And to all the DACAs out there, I know sometimes they stop from getting pre-approved or moving through the process because they think we're going to ask for a lot of different documents, but it's the same basic documents that a U.S. citizen or that a permanent resident needs.
Yes,
Two pay stubs, two bank statements, two W-2s, and 34 to 45 days later, they're homeowners. So,
that's correct. Yes. And definitely there's that obviously volatile environment of us being on the limbo, being in the court system and things like that, that people are scared to own a home and just not knowing whether we're going to continue to be able to renew our work permits or obviously our stay here in the US. And so to every DACA recipient that I've met and that I've talked to and that I've helped them buy a house, I've always told them, hey, at the end of the day, you have to live somewhere. You need a place to live. You're paying rent. Might as well own something. We don't know. We've been in the limbo for the past 10 plus years. We still need a place to live. So I would say if you can afford it, just go for it.
oh, yeah, most definitely. Now, fast forward to today's market, and now that you've been in the industry for so many years, how do you establish the trust and the partnership with all your lenders, your partners, and your clients at the end of the day? How do you establish that trust between you and your working peers?
For me, it's very important to be very transparent from the moment that you meet, whether it's your client, whether it's buyer or seller, your lender, is having that clarity of what the goal is and also establish that conversation, that communication, right? Making sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody understands what the next steps are, And in the case of working with a lender, is about, okay, this is your part, this is my part, and this is how we're going to communicate to make sure that at the end of the day, our buyer, our seller gets the best service possible.
Oh, that's great because communication is key
Yes.
at the end of the day, and math doesn't lie, numbers are numbers. So if you have that good communication and you're able to establish that trust, I think you can get from A to B pretty rapidly, seamless. Uh, What are the most common misconceptions that you're seeing in today's market?
Uh, Probably the most one that I get asked all the time is about down payment. People have a misconception about how much down payment they need, how much is it going to cost them to get into a house. And then the second one, going back to down payment, is also down payment assistance programs. There is many of them out there. It's just about finding the right one for you and working with a lender such as yourself who can go ahead and say, okay, if you bring your own down payment, this is what your numbers are looking like versus if you use a down payment assistance program. Because at the end of the day, you and I both know that there's no such thing as a free lunch. So
That's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. What are your long-term business and personal goals?
right now for me is to continue to grow my business. I've been a full-time agent now for 3 years. Actually, this month is 3 years. I have been licensed for 5 years. I was working again the back end for the first two. So right now is to continue to establish my business and make sure that I'm able to help people in the best possible way, slowly but surely. Keep it growing slowly but surely.
No, that's actually great information there, and that leads me to ask. I know you've had very good success. You connect with your clients. You have a pretty big database. What helped you? What strategies did you have? What strategies can you give newer agents that are trying to jump into today's market or even considering leaving their part-time job to do full-time in today's market? What strategies or what options can you give them, that little token that could help them make that next change?
I think for me, the biggest thing that's helped me sustain my business is not only focus on on the time that they're buying or selling their home. Because obviously, that is where you're going to show your value, you're going to gain their trust. But then once that transaction or once that that process of buying or selling their home is over, what you do after that transaction closes, it's really what's going to keep your business growing and moving forward. Making sure that you're calling them, texting them, checking in with them. One of the things that I do, I send out a monthly postcard to my clients, just letting them know what the market is doing with market updates, giving them home tips, I'm sorry, and just keeping in touch with them to make sure that that trust and that communication continues moving forward. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about that one transaction, it's about you being there for pretty much the rest of their lives, that you're their go to agent.
No, yeah, because unfortunately, it becomes very transactional sometimes. Here's your keys. Thank you. Have a great day. And we move on. Um, I personally like to stay in touch with all my clients as well. But that's a very good tip. You actually just gave me a token because actually having a handwritten letter or something that I sent on a monthly basis to all my clients out there, I'm guilty. I don't do that, but I will start implementing that. That's actually a great tip.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm actually going to start implementing is going to be to send them a mid-year update from me, more of a personal, again, to all my clients that's coming up. I'm still working on it, but just letting them know, okay, I know life sometimes happens, but you're not alone and it happens to all of us. So I think the way I learned about it is called the letter of the heart. And I've heard about it for a couple years now. I just never done it until I did some soul searching and find that I think that's going to be my next, thing to implement in my business.
Wow, you have me intrigued. Now I just want to be your client to get one of those letters.
I'll include you on my mailing list.
All right. What are some of the philosophies or things that you do on a daily basis on the personal side that help you grow as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, and help your business grow?
I think for me is never giving up. If there's a will, there's a way. That's what I was told growing up by my grandma, by my mom. You always have to find a way. And I've always said it. It's just if you're willing to work a little harder or work maybe not harder, but just smarter, and that will for you to continue to move forward. And to me, I think that's been my motto for a long time. I hear my grandma and my mom in the back of my head, right, telling me, hey, a little bit more, and you can make a big difference. So that's what I live by.
Wow, that's amazing. I actually got the chills when you were saying that because a big mentor in my life is my mom. Um, I don't think I tell her enough, but like I always think about what would my mom do in this situation.
Right.
Or there's times that I'm super stressed because not every loan is easy. I don't even know why I do this. And then the moment that we see those clients with tears in their eyes, the joy is my mom would be so proud of me. So that actually hit home with me when you said that about your
Yeah.
mom and your grandma. So that that's definitely going to help you grow your business because you're thinking of the human side versus the entrepreneur side. And I said this in past podcasts, but money and numbers follow, they don't lead. What I mean by that is we always have to do what's right for our clients, for our consumers, for our extended family, because they become family at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that you and I have talked about before is how for us, it's not just about just, yes, we're helping the client, but we are actually treating them as if they were family, as if I think we connect on that portion of it to where we want to build that relationship with the client. We wouldn't do anything to not only hurt them, but if we obviously we treat them like if we were helping your mom or my mom buy or sell a house, right?
Oh yeah.
So
What's your biggest struggle?
we're in a little moment right now, but I think for me it's consistency. It's consistency. I sometimes have a really hard time concentrating. And that's when I'm like, okay, I need to take a step back, breathe, so then get back on it. And I think learning how to do that instead of just getting frustrated with myself and just like giving up and be like, okay, I'm done for the day. No, it's just taking that step back so I can rebuild and continue to do whatever task I have to do for that day.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I feel we're very alike in that aspect. About 4 months ago, I went to this HOA event and there was this guy and he was like, you want to do a magic trick? And I was like, I wasn't here to do a magic trick, but so then he pulls out these cards
Right.
and then he tells me, pick a card, read it, pick something, and then it goes like 3 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then after those 3 steps, he turns the card that I picked and he tells me that I'm an orange. I was like, what do you mean I'm an orange? Yeah, that's your color. And then this and this breaks it down. This is what you stand for, and this is how you connect with people. Like, that is a magic trick because if we know people's colors, we're able to adapt to their personality and we're able to understand our flaws and weaknesses to be able to grow and help as many families and people as possible. That's why I asked that question. I know people all are like, why do you want to make people's flaws stand out, right? But no, it's so that's definitely we're very alike in that matter.
Yeah. And I think it just openly saying it brings some conscience to it, right? About, hey, yes, this is a flaw, but I know it's something that I can work towards and that I can, I don't want to say fix, but maybe say better myself at X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. What's your support at home? I know our industry is long days, long hours.
Yeah.
What's your go-to, like when you're at home relaxing, like, okay, it's time to wind down? So how does that go?
I've become very addicted to listening to audiobooks. Like I'm constantly listening to audiobooks or podcasts. That's literally all I play. Either if I'm cleaning, if I'm whatever I'm doing, working out, I am literally listening to a podcast or a book.
What's your favorite book right now or favorite podcast?
Right now, I'm listening to the book I'm listening to right now. It's called The Midnight Hotel. I want to say that that's what it's called. And it's a very interesting book. It pretty much goes into saying how sometimes we live with regret of the decisions that we didn't make because we think that the outcome would have been different. And I think that hits home because I always tell myself, if I would have chosen this, maybe this would have been the outcome. If or if I would have done that, maybe my life would have been different, right? Or what if I didn't buy my first condo because I couldn't afford the house that I wanted, right? So I think it's a really good book. I'm halfway through it, so if it gets better, I'll definitely.
I know, most definitely. My favorite book, and I've read it twice, or audiobook twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Inquebrantables by Daniel Javid. It caught me because the intro asked a question, and then he's get a paper, get a pen, write the 10 things that you love the most. And get it, you write it, and then he's like, okay, you're done. Read them to me. You start reading them. He was like, if your name is not on that list, there's something wrong. And my name was nowhere in that list. My wife was there, my kids were there, my dog was there, and my name was nowhere on the list.
Yeah.
And he goes through all these steps, and at the end, he asked the same question in a different way where you're not like, oh, I'm gonna put my name, but you actually feel the conviction of putting your name first.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's very easy to do, right? Like when you're like, oh, as a father or you even as a mom, you put yourself last, so you don't even think about yourself. So I'm intrigued. I'm gonna have to read that. Put that on my.
Yeah, Inquebrantables. Daniel Javid. It's in Spanish. He's from Mexico City.
Yeah, I think he was here a couple months ago.
Yeah, I actually went to his conference. And where can people find you? I know a lot of our listeners are probably very intrigued. Liliana Fuentes, if they're trying to buy a house, they're trying to sell their house, if they just want to connect and see their content, where can we find you?
So I am on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as Liliana Fuentes Realtor. They can find me there. I do post market updates, a little bit about myself, tips on buying or selling your house, and then featuring properties as well just around the valley.
Okay. So all platforms, Liliana Fuentes Realtor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There you have it, guys. You guys heard a little bit of Liliana Fuentes, her story, what got her to this point, and she's not done yet. My name's Antonio Perez. I'm your local mortgage broker. Don't wait for the right opportunity. Let us create it for you. We'll catch you on the next one.